It started with a tremor in her fingers. Lila had gotten good at hiding it, sliding her hands into her pockets, gripping her phone too tight, pretending it was just cold. But this time, it wasn't the kind of tremor that could be brushed away with a smile. This was the kind that started from her chest and spread outward, thin and frantic, like her bones were vibrating from the inside out. She was standing in line at the cafe, staring at the chalkboard menu like the letters were written in a language she'd forgotten how to read. Her breath came shallow. Her vision blurred at the edges. And then the world tilted. "Lila," someone asked, but the voice was too far away. She didn't turn. Couldn't. Her heart pounded like it was trying to escape. Her chest was caving in. She couldn't breathe. The panic bloomed fully now, merciless and familiar, dragging her under like an old enemy with sharp claws and a cruel memory. She tried to find the exit. Her feet wouldn't move. She didn't know if she was crying, but her cheeks felt wet. She knew she was making a scene, that people were staring, that someone was saying something into a phone. And she didn't care. She just wanted it to stop. Then arms. Stronger than she expected. Around her. Holding her. Not roughly, not like someone trying to fix her, but gently. Like someone who wasn't afraid. Her body went rigid, then collapsed. She leaned into the stranger's chest, trembling, barely upright. "Breathe with me," a voice said, soft but certain.
"In. Right now."
"Hold. And out." Lila didn't know why she obeyed. She didn't even realize she had. But her lungs opened, painfully at first, then more steadily.
"In.
Hold.
Out."
Again. Again. The panic didn't vanish. But it loosened. Just enough for her to feel her own skin again. Her knees gave out. The stranger caught her, lowered them both to the floor with surprising grace. And still, those arms didn't let go. "You're okay," the voice said. "Just breathe. I've got you." When Lila opened her eyes, the first thing she saw was a gray hoodie, soft fabric, the curve of a collarbone, then a glimpse of pale skin, dark hair, a jawline like a slash of shadow. Lila blinked, and for the first time in what felt like days, the world came back into focus. "You," she whispered, but her voice cracked. "It's okay," the woman said. "You don't have to talk. Just stay here a second." Lila nodded against her chest. She didn't know why she didn't move, why she didn't pull away, why her heart, usually a riot of panic and noise, had started to quiet. She didn't know anything, except this. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, she felt safe. That fact alone was terrifying, and she couldn't look away. The woman smelled like coffee and rain. Her hand was still resting between Lila's shoulder blades, warm and steady, not pushing or holding, just there. Present. Grounding. Someone handed her water. Someone else asked if she wanted them to call someone. Lila just shook her head. She didn't want anyone. Not Marcus. Not her therapist. Not even her best friend. Just this stranger who had caught her like the panic itself had summoned her into being. "I'm Zoe," the woman said finally. "I'm not trying to be weird. You just looked like you needed someone." "I did," Lila whispered. "I do." Their eyes met and something flickered. Not recognition. Not even attraction. Resonance. Like a frequency only they could hear. Zoe stood and offered her a hand. Lila took it. Her fingers still trembled, but less now. She didn't want to let go. "Come on," Zoe said. "Let's sit outside. Too many eyes in here." They walked to a table on the sidewalk and Zoe gave her space, sitting just far enough to show she wasn't going to crowd her. Lila wrapped her hands around the paper cup someone had pressed into her palms. "Thank you," she said, voice raw. "You didn't have to, I know," Zoe cut in. "But I've been there. Sort of. It looked like the world was collapsing for you." "It was." Lila let out a shaky breath. "Usually my boyfriend can help. Or at least ground me. But lately, it's like nothing works." Zoe raised an eyebrow but didn't ask. Lila didn't know why she kept talking. Maybe because it felt like she could. "It's getting worse. I've tried everything. I didn't even know I was about to break until it happened. That's how it always goes. Zoe said quietly. The worst ones sneak up on you. You think you're fine and then boom. Breathing becomes a luxury. Lila nodded, eyes filling again. Why are you being so kind? Because sometimes, Zoe said, a stranger is the only one who can reach through the noise. That sentence stuck with Lila.
She didn't know what it meant,
but she felt it in her bones. They sat there for another 10 minutes, sipping lukewarm drinks, not saying much. Then Zoe stood. You're okay now? I think so. Then I should go. Wait, Lila blurted. Can I see you again? Zoe looked at her for a long moment. That's not a good idea. Why not? Because I don't do entanglements. You think I'm asking for one? No, Zoe said. But that's how it starts. Then she was gone.
Just like that.
Disappeared into the late morning crowd like she had never been there at all. But Lila's skin remembered. Her chest remembered. Her breath, steady, whole, remembered. And something deep inside her, something that had nothing to do with logic or anxiety or Marcus, whispered, find her again. And Lila knew she would. Lila told herself it was nothing. A fluke. A one-time moment. A breakdown in public caught by a stranger who happened to know how to speak the language of panic. She repeated this lie for days like a mantra, even as her mind clung to the memory of arms wrapped around her, steady and sure. She tried to forget the way Zoe had spoken to her, calm but not condescending, warm but not invasive, the way her voice had sliced through the noise like it belonged inside Lila's head. But forgetting wasn't working. Neither were her meds, or the breathing exercises, or Marcus. Especially not Marcus. He noticed the shift, of course. He wasn't stupid, but he misunderstood it. Thought it was about stress at work or missing her parents or some phase she'd cycle out of eventually. He tried to help, but his help felt like noise now. Too loud, too forceful, like a Band-Aid slapped over a broken bone. Maybe we should try something new, he said over dinner 3 nights after the cafe incident. Switch up your routine. Get some air. Go to the coast this weekend. We haven't done a getaway in months. Lila poked at her food. She hated how wrong it felt to be irritated by him. He was trying. He was doing everything he knew how to do. But his words scraped instead of soothed. Maybe, she murmured. Or maybe I just need time to be still. I feel like I've been trying too hard to outrun this thing. Marcus frowned. But doing nothing hasn't worked either, has it? The question wasn't cruel. Just honest. And still, it made something twist inside her. I had a panic attack the other day, she blurted. He looked up sharply. When? Tuesday. At a cafe. It was bad. Why didn't you call me? I couldn't, she said. It happened too fast. You should have told me right away. I'm telling you now. Did anyone help you? She paused. A woman. I don't know. She just came up and held me and helped me breathe. I don't even know why she did it. Marcus's jaw tightened. A stranger? Yes. And you let her touch you? I didn't have a choice, she snapped. I was falling apart, Marcus. She grounded me. That's it. But it wasn't it. Not even close. She didn't say how her body had relaxed in Zoe's arms in a way it hadn't relaxed in months. How she'd slept better that night than she had in weeks. How she'd replayed Zoe's voice in her head over and over again like a song with no ending. That night, Marcus tried to make love to her. She let him. But it felt like going through the motions, like pressing her lips to something that no longer sparked. When he fell asleep beside her, Lila stared at the ceiling, guilt thick in her throat. She didn't want this to be about Zoe. But it already was. The next morning, she walked past the same cafe, heart pounding. She told herself it was coincidence. That she just happened to crave their coffee. That she wasn't looking. But when she saw Zoe sitting by the window, sketchbook in hand, headphones over her ears, everything inside her jolted. Lila stood frozen on the sidewalk for several seconds, pulse fluttering like a caught bird. She could walk away. Pretend not to see her. Let the moment pass and go back to her life. Or she could step inside. So she did. The bell over the door chimed. Zoe didn't look up. Lila ordered a drink, barely tasted it, then walked straight to the table. Hi. Zoe looked up slowly. Her expression didn't shift much, but her eyes widened the tiniest bit. You again.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to interrupt. You're not. Lila hesitated. Can I sit? Zoe studied her. Are you okay? Not really, but I'm breathing. Zoe nodded to the empty seat. Then sit. Lila did. They sat in silence for a minute, Lila's cup between her hands, Zoe's pencil moving lightly over paper. What are you drawing? Lila asked. Zoe flipped the sketchbook around. It was her, Lila, curled in Zoe's lap. Eyes closed, mouth open like she'd just exhaled the weight of the world. You drew me? I sketch when I feel things, Zoe said. That moment felt heavy, like something worth remembering. Lila stared at it, throat tight. You didn't even know me. Still don't. But you helped. Zoe looked down. I shouldn't have. I've learned to keep my distance. People get used to you saving them and then hate you when they need you again. I don't hate you. Yet. That's not fair. No, Zoe agreed. But it's honest. Lila leaned forward, desperate to understand. Why did you do it? That day? Because I saw myself in your face. Zoe's voice was quiet now, and I know what it's like to be drowning in public. They talked for over an hour. About nothing. About everything. About panic and art and bad relationships and why Lila didn't know who she was anymore. Zoe listened. Not like someone waiting to speak, but like someone absorbing. Like someone seeing. And when Lila left, Zoe didn't offer her number. But she said, I'm usually here around 10. Weekdays. That was all. No promises. No invitations. Just a door cracked open. Lila walked home with her chest aching. Not in fear. In longing. For something she hadn't named yet. That night, she didn't tell Marcus where she'd been. She didn't say the name Zoe. She just curled into herself and tried not to think about how someone else's presence made her feel more known than 2 years of love ever had. But her hands didn't tremble. Not once. Zoe started avoiding the cafe. Not in any obvious way, no dramatic change in routine, no frantic need to disappear, but in the quiet, intentional way of someone who knew how to slip out of reach. She'd walk a different route, take her coffee to go, spend hours in the park sketching instead of at her usual table. She told herself it wasn't personal, that she was protecting both of them. But every time she glanced at the seat across from her and it was empty, her chest ached in ways she didn't want to examine. She was getting too close. Again. And she'd promised herself she wouldn't. Lila, meanwhile, kept going back. 10 a.m., 5 days in a row. She wasn't sure what she was hoping for. Maybe she thought Zoe would appear like magic again, summoned by a need Lila didn't understand. Maybe she just wanted to feel that steady, grounding presence again, even from a distance. On the 6th day, Zoe wasn't there. On the 7th, Lila brought a sketch pad. She couldn't draw, but it gave her something to do with her hands. Something that made her feel closer to the girl who had held her together with nothing but breath and instinct. On the 8th day, she found Zoe in the park. Not by accident. She'd gone looking. And there she was, sitting on a blanket under a tree, sketching, headphones in, sun hitting her cheekbones like it had been made for her. Lila stood a few feet away, unsure. Then Zoe looked up. Their eyes met. And Zoe's expression changed, just slightly. A flicker of something between guilt and longing. She pulled out her earbuds. You found me. You were hiding. I was avoiding. Why? Because I know how this ends. Lila sat beside her. You don't even know what this is. Don't I? Zoe's voice was low, careful. You're in a relationship. You're struggling. I helped you once. And now you're looking for a lifeline. I've been that before. It doesn't end well. You think I'm using you. I think you don't know what you want yet. And I think if I let you keep pulling me closer, I won't be able to walk away when I need to. So walk away now. I'm trying. Then why haven't you? Zoe looked down at her sketchbook. Because I don't want to. Lila's breath caught. The confession wasn't loud, but it echoed. Neither do I, she said. But I don't know what this is either. I feel different when I'm near you. Like I can breathe. Like I'm real again. That's not love. I didn't say it was. But it feels like it, Zoe whispered. And that's what makes it dangerous. They sat in silence for a long time. Leaves whispered above them. A dog barked in the distance. And Lila felt like the world had gone quiet just so she could hear her own heart pounding. Tell me to leave, she said. And I will. Zoe didn't speak. Tell me to stay, and I will. I can't, Zoe said. Because both are true. I want you to go. And I want you to never stop coming back. Lila leaned in barely. Then let me stay. Just for a little while. Zoe closed her eyes. Okay. They didn't touch. Not yet. But something passed between them. A current, soft and steady, stronger than any spoken vow. Lila stayed until the sun went down. They didn't say much. But when she stood to leave, Zoe handed her the sketchbook.
Keep it, she said.
There's a page in there I don't want to lose. But I can't keep looking at it either. Lila opened it that night. It was a drawing of her. Not during the panic, but the moment after. When she had been breathing again. Eyes open. Lips parted. Not smiling. Just alive.
She cried.
Marcus noticed. Are you okay? He asked. She nodded, too quickly. Just tired. He kissed her forehead. You've seemed distant lately. Is there something I should know? Lila hesitated. I'm just trying to figure things out. About us. About everything. Marcus studied her. I love you, you know. I know. And if you're not happy, I'd rather hear it from you than guess it from the way you've stopped holding my hand at night. That shattered something in her. She forced a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. I'm not trying to hurt you. Then tell me the truth. But she couldn't. Not yet. So she lied. It's not about you. And maybe that part was true. Maybe it wasn't about him at all. Maybe it was about the way Zoe made her feel like she wasn't broken. Like she was seen. Like her panic wasn't a burden, but a language someone else could understand. She saw Zoe again 3 days later. This time Zoe reached for her first. Just a brush of fingers. Barely a touch. But Lila's skin lit up like it had remembered something her mind hadn't dared to admit. They didn't talk about Marcus. They didn't talk about rules. They just existed. Side by side. Quiet. Present. And it was enough to make everything else feel too loud. That night, when Marcus touched her arm in bed, she didn't pull away. But she didn't lean into it either. She stared at the ceiling, heart full of questions she didn't have the courage to ask. Not yet. But one thought pulsed louder than all the others. Zoe makes me feel alive. And she didn't know how to turn that off. Zoe disappeared again. Not with cruelty, not with malice, just a slow retreat into absence. Lila woke up on a Monday and felt it like a cord had been cut. No messages. No sign at the cafe. No sketches left behind. The world felt quieter, but not in the comforting way Zoe had made it feel. This was a silence that bruised. Lila waited 2 days before going to the park again. The bench under the sycamore was empty. She walked the same path they had taken. Nothing. Not even the smell of charcoal pencil in the air. By Friday, she'd memorized the routine of not finding her. On Saturday, Marcus found her crying in the bathroom. She told him it was about her parents. About stress. About everything but the truth. He held her, but it felt like she was being comforted by someone on the other side of a wall she'd built with her own hands. Maybe we should take some time off, Marcus said that night. You don't look at me the same anymore. It's not that simple, Lila replied. Then help me understand. But she couldn't, because part of her still didn't understand it herself. Was it Zoe's silence that made everything ache? Or the realization that her absence hurt more than it should? On Sunday, Lila got a text. It was from an unknown number, but she knew the cadence. The restraint. Meet me tomorrow. Same park. No expectations.
She didn't respond.
Just showed up. Zoe was there.
Hoodie.
Sketchbook. eyes tired but watchful. She didn't smile. Neither did Lila. Where did you go? I needed to remind myself why I walked away the first time. Did it work? No, they sat side by side. Leaves danced around their feet. I missed you, Lila said. I didn't want you to, Zoe replied. But I did. I know. Lila turned to her. You think I'm still trying to figure out what I want. And you're not wrong. But the one thing I'm sure of is that I don't feel safe in my own skin unless you're near. Zoe looked at her, mouth parted like she might say something cruel to cut through the tension, but no words came. I'm not asking for anything, Lila continued. I don't know how to breathe properly when you're not around. Zoe closed her eyes. Do you have any idea what it does to me when you say things like that? I'm sorry. Don't be. I just don't know what I'm supposed to do with it. Nothing. You don't have to do anything. But she wanted her to. God, she wanted her to. They sat in silence again. And it was unbearable. I tried to forget you, Zoe whispered. I told myself it was gratitude.
Just trauma bonding.
That you didn't really want me. You just wanted comfort. And then I realized I was sketching the curve of your jawline into every page. Lila's breath caught. You could kiss me right now, she said softly. And I wouldn't stop you.
Don't tempt me, Zoe said.
You know I want to. Then why won't you? Because I refuse to be someone's mistake. Lila blinked. You wouldn't be. I'm not convinced of that yet. They stood at the edge of something terrifying. Not passion. Not lust.
Choice.
And neither of them could make it. Not yet. When Lila got home, Marcus was waiting. He had wine open. Her favorite. He smiled too brightly. I thought we could have a night in, he said. No pressure. Just us. She nodded, letting the lie live a little longer. She let him kiss her neck. Let him pull her close. But her body didn't respond the way it used to. She felt like a ghost haunting her own life. In the middle of dinner, he said it. Are you seeing someone else? Lila froze. What? You've been different. I feel it. You don't look at me the same. You flinch when I touch you. You spend hours out with no explanation. I'm not sleeping with anyone. That's not what I asked. Silence. Then, there's someone, she admitted. But I don't know what it is yet. Do you love her? I don't even know if she'll stay. That's not what I asked either. I don't know, Lila said, voice shaking. But I can breathe when she's near. Marcus stood, face unreadable. Then maybe that's your answer. Marcus, don't. I don't want an apology. I just want honesty. And if you can't give me that, then at least don't pretend.
He left.
He didn't slam the door. Didn't curse. He just left like someone finally choosing himself. Lila sat on the couch in the quiet aftermath, her heart cracked in too many directions to name. She texted Zoe. I told him. The reply came fast. Are you okay?
No.
Where are you? Home. I'm coming. Lila didn't expect her to really show up. But an hour later, there she was. Hoodie soaked from rain. Eyes full of questions. You didn't have to come, Lila whispered. I know, Zoe said. But I wanted to. They stood in the hallway, dripping and tired and shaking. You left once, Lila said. Will you do it again? Do you want me to? No, then let me stay tonight, Zoe whispered. Just tonight. Just tonight, Lila echoed. They didn't kiss. They didn't touch. Zoe curled beside her in bed like a storm waiting to happen, and Lila fell asleep to the sound of her breathing. It was the first night in weeks she didn't wake up gasping. But when morning came, Zoe was gone again. And this time, she left a sketch on the pillow. Lila, asleep, safe. And the words written beneath it in tiny, shaking ink, you make me want to stay. The sketch sat on Lila's nightstand for days, untouched but never ignored. She stared at it each morning like it was a question she didn't yet have the courage to answer. You make me want to stay. 6 words. Just 6. But they vibrated through her chest every time she read them. She had told Marcus. She had torn her life open. And yet, she still didn't know what to do with the space left behind. Zoe hadn't come back.
Not yet.
Not even after the sketch. And Lila didn't chase her this time. She didn't want to be the weight that pulled Zoe back into something neither of them understood. She went to work. She took walks. She answered a few of Marcus's texts, short, polite, hesitant. He was staying with a friend. He didn't ask for explanations anymore. He didn't ask for anything. And somehow, that hurt more than if he had screamed. She had loved him. Maybe still did, in some fractured, familiar way. But it wasn't the kind of love that reached down into the dark and said, I see you. That love belonged to someone else now.
Or it was beginning to.
On Thursday, she found Zoe outside the cafe, sketching on the sidewalk, hunched over her book like she was shielding something delicate from the wind. Lila didn't speak. She just sat beside her. Zoe didn't look up. I wasn't sure if I'd see you again, she said. Neither was I. You look tired. I am. You look lighter. I am that too. Zoe finally looked up. I'm sorry I left. I'm not, Lila said. You're allowed to run. I think we both needed space to figure out if this is real. And it's real, Lila said quietly. But I'm still scared of it. Zoe nodded. Me too. Lila reached into her bag and pulled out the sketch. This hasn't left my nightstand. Zoe's eyes softened. You kept it. It kept me. They sat in the sun, warm and unspeaking for a long time. It wasn't peace, but it was close. Do you think we can do this without hurting anyone else? Lila asked finally. I think the damage has already been done, Zoe said. The question now is whether we keep pretending or start choosing. And if I don't know how to choose, then we don't rush. We breathe. We take it one moment at a time. Even if we're a mess? Especially then. That night, Zoe came over again. Not to stay. Not to kiss.
Just to exist.
They cooked dinner, badly. Drank wine. Talked about everything, but the mess between them. Lila laughed for the first time in weeks. Really laughed. And it felt like pulling air into a body that had forgotten how to want it. Zoe stood to leave around midnight. At the door, she hesitated. I don't want to go. Then don't. If I stay, I'm going to kiss you. I know. And if I kiss you, I won't be able to forget it. Then don't forget. Zoe looked at her like she wanted to memorize every part of her face. But she stepped back. Not yet. And left. The restraint tasted like longing. Lila didn't sleep. She lay awake with the ghost of a kiss that hadn't happened still pressed to her lips. The next day, Marcus came by to get his things. They didn't fight. Didn't cry. He looked at her like someone who already knew the ending. Do you love her? I don't know, Lila said. But when she's around, I feel like I'm not drowning. You never let me see you like that. I didn't know how. Marcus nodded. Then I hope she's brave enough to hold it. He left a box of photos behind. She didn't open it. That night, Lila texted Zoe. I'm alone.
For real now.
Zoe replied 2 words. I'm coming. And she did. No games. No hesitation. When she walked through the door, neither of them spoke. They just stared. Then Zoe crossed the room and kissed her. Not gently. Not shyly. But like she'd been waiting her whole life to stop pretending she didn't want to. Lila melted into it, hands in Zoe's hair, breath catching as the weeks of tension finally broke open. But then Zoe stopped. Pulled away. Just a few inches. Are you sure? No, Lila whispered. But I want to be. Then let's go slow. Slower than this? Zoe laughed, soft, real, shaking. We have time now. They sat on the floor, knees touching, hearts thudding in the quiet. It wasn't a confession. It wasn't a declaration. But it was something new, something safe, and something sacred. Lila fell asleep with her head on Zoe's shoulder. When she woke up hours later, Zoe was still there, watching her. Like she couldn't believe it either. But outside, the world was not done with them. Lila's phone buzzed. Her mother, her sister, her coworkers. People starting to ask questions. Whispers already spreading. And the line between honesty and damage was beginning to blur. Zoe looked at the phone. Then at Lila. We won't be able to hide this much longer. I don't want to hide it, Lila said. But I don't know how to explain it either. You don't have to explain it to anyone but yourself. And you. I already know. The quiet that followed wasn't easy. It was edged, tense, full of consequences they hadn't yet spoken aloud. But under it all was something else too. A decision waiting to be made. Not tonight, but soon. And when it came, it would change everything. The morning after, Lila woke up to the smell of coffee and the soft hum of Zoe's voice singing something low and half-forgotten in the kitchen. She didn't remember falling asleep, just remembered the weight of Zoe's arms, the steady rhythm of her breathing, the warmth of something that felt frighteningly like home. For a moment, Lila didn't move. She let the peace settle over her, rare and fragile. Then reality returned like a whisper. She had kissed Zoe. Fully. Finally. And everything that followed, the laughter, the silence, the closeness, had felt inevitable. But now, in the daylight, it all shimmered with tension. Lila stepped into the kitchen barefoot, arms folded over the oversized t-shirt she'd slept in. Zoe turned at the sound. Her smile was small but real. Hey. Hey. I made coffee. Hope that's okay. It's perfect. They stood in silence for a beat too long. Then Zoe handed her a mug. Their fingers brushed. Neither of them commented on it. You left your sketchbook, Lila said, nodding to the table.
Yeah.
I thought maybe I'd draw here today. You always draw after we see each other. That's because you make me feel like there's something worth capturing. Lila's throat tightened. You say things that make it hard to breathe. Then I'll stop. Don't. Zoe looked away. This is dangerous, you know. I know. People are going to talk. Let them. But it wasn't that simple. That afternoon, Lila got a call from her sister, Amelia. Are you okay? She asked without preamble. Why? Because someone saw you in the park. With a woman. You were close. Lila closed her eyes. Amelia, I don't care what it is, Lila. I just want to know if it's real. If it's good for you. I don't know what it is yet. But it's not Marcus anymore, is it? No, a long silence. Then maybe that's enough for now. But it wasn't enough for the world. At work, two colleagues gave her sidelong glances. Someone asked about Marcus. Another said they'd seen her with a girl who looked like trouble. And at her favorite bookstore, the clerk she'd known for years offered a cautious smile and said, You look different. Lighter. Lila wasn't sure whether to be grateful or afraid.
She saw Zoe again that night.
This time, they didn't talk much. They sat in the living room, knees touching, a movie playing in the background that neither of them watched. Lila leaned her head on Zoe's shoulder. Zoe rested her cheek against Lila's hair. No words. No rush. Just breath. Just presence. But beneath it all, questions. When Lila kissed her, it was slow. Intentional. Zoe responded with a softness that made Lila's knees weak. Her hands settled on Lila's waist like they'd always belonged there. It wasn't urgent. It wasn't lust. It was something deeper. Something terrifying. They didn't sleep together. Not yet. But their bodies spoke a language that said soon. And neither of them corrected it. After Zoe left, Lila stood in the doorway for a long time, heart thudding. She checked her phone. 3 missed calls from Marcus. 1 voicemail. She listened. I don't want to fight with you, he said. I just want to know you're okay. That you're not getting swallowed by something you don't understand. If you need me, I'm here. Guilt bloomed like a bruise. Not because she missed him, but because she didn't. Not really. She typed a message. I'm okay. I hope you are too. She didn't send it. She deleted it. And turned off her phone. The next day, she and Zoe walked through the city. Not holding hands. Not touching. But too close. Someone recognized her. An old friend from college. Lila?
Wow.
And, is this your girlfriend? Lila froze. Zoe tensed. Lila began, but nothing followed. We're friends, Zoe said. The smile was polite. The eyes were wounded. The friend moved on. Lila turned. I didn't know what to say. You don't have to explain. But you're hurt. I'm cautious. Are we not something? Zoe exhaled slowly. I think we're becoming something. But I don't want to be the reason you lose everything before you're ready. You're not the reason, Lila said. You're the breath after drowning. Zoe stopped walking. Then don't whisper me away in public. I won't. I promise. That night, they kissed again. Longer.
Deeper.
Lila's hands trembled when they touched Zoe's skin. Not from panic. From want. But just when it felt like they might fall over the edge, Zoe stopped. Not yet, she whispered. I want this to be clean. Not born from confusion. Lila nodded. I'm not confused.
No.
But we're still healing. They lay in bed fully clothed, fingers intertwined. And it was more intimate than anything Lila had felt in months. Maybe years. In the morning, her mother called. I heard about Marcus, she said. And I heard about the woman. Lila froze.
What?
You know how these things spread. I'm not judging you. I want to understand. I don't even fully understand it yet. Is it real? Yes. Then I'll try. That was all. But it shook Lila to the core. Someone trying.
Not shaming.
Not silencing.
Just trying.
She told Zoe later. They sat on the balcony with coffee and blankets. It's starting, Lila said. The unraveling. The questions. The truths. Are you scared? Terrified. Do you want me to back away? No, Lila whispered.
Stay.
Even if I don't know how to ask. Zoe kissed her temple. Then I'm not going anywhere. But something in Zoe's voice trembled. Like she didn't quite believe it. Like she was still waiting for Lila to change her mind. And Lila didn't know how to promise anything yet. Not because she didn't want to, but because this thing between them was becoming more than she had words for. And the silence around it was getting louder. Zoe started sleeping with one foot out the door. Not literally, she still came over, still brought coffee, still kissed Lila like it meant something, but her energy had changed. Softer, distant, like she was bracing for something inevitable. Lila noticed immediately. The way Zoe would linger at the edge of the bed instead of crawling under the covers. The way her phone buzzed more, and she'd check it without offering a name. The way her sketches started showing empty chairs, silhouettes facing away, hands reaching toward nothing. At first, Lila said nothing. She told herself it was fine. That Zoe was giving her space to breathe, to process. But space started to feel like abandonment in slow motion. Are we okay? Lila asked one night, curled up beside her on the couch, fingers lightly brushing Zoe's wrist. Zoe didn't look up. You tell me. That's not an answer. I don't want to say something you're not ready to hear. Try me. I'm falling in love with you, Zoe said, barely audible. And I don't think you're falling back. The words landed like a punch. Not because they were untrue, but because they were, and Lila didn't know how to fix it. I feel something real, she said. But I'm still scared. Of me? Of everything. Zoe nodded slowly. That's fair. But I've been the in-between before, Lila. I've been the chapter someone needed to get through their confusion. I can't be that again. You're not. Aren't I? You haven't introduced me to anyone. You change the subject every time someone asks about us. Your ex still checks in more than I do. That's not because I want him to. But you let him. Lila recoiled. Not from anger. From shame. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean to make you feel temporary. You didn't make me feel it, Zoe said, standing. But you didn't try to make me feel permanent either. She left before Lila could stop her. This time, she didn't say, I'll see you soon. She just disappeared into the rain, hoodie soaked, back straight, heart unreadable. Lila stood in the doorway until the silence became unbearable. She didn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, her chest aching in places she didn't know had nerve endings. In the morning, she checked her phone obsessively. No messages. Nothing from Zoe. Just a text from Marcus. Take care of yourself. That's all I want. And somehow that made it worse. That night, she went to the cafe. Sat at the same table. Ordered Zoe's drink. Waited. Hours passed. No sign. She left a note on a napkin. You were never temporary. I was just slow. The next day, no response. The day after, still silence. She started seeing Zoe in her dreams. Not in romantic ways, just glimpses. A hand. A sketchbook. A shoulder disappearing through a crowd. Her body remembered the way Zoe breathed when they kissed. The way her hands were steady when Lila's weren't. The way she said Lila's name like it was a secret she wasn't supposed to know. By the fourth day, Lila cracked. She went to Zoe's apartment.
Knocked.
No answer. Knocked again. A voice from behind. She's not here. Lila turned. A woman with cropped hair, tattoos, eyes that looked through people. Who are you? Emery, she said. Zoe's ex. Lila's stomach dropped. She doesn't talk about you. We don't talk about each other, Emery replied. But I know when someone's spiraling. And she is. Because of you. I didn't mean to hurt her. Then don't waste time apologizing to me. Figure out what the hell you want and stop playing safe. Lila nodded slowly. Is she coming back? She always does, Emery said. But if she thinks you're not all in, she'll disappear for good. Lila didn't wait. She went to the park. Their park. The bench beneath the sycamore tree. The wind was cold. Her hands were colder. She waited. For hours. Until the sun dipped. Until the sky bruised. And then, footsteps.
Zoe.
No words. No smile. Just eyes filled with exhaustion. Why are you here? She asked. To tell you I'm not running anymore. You sure? No, Lila admitted. But I'd rather be scared next to you than safe and empty without you. Zoe sat beside her, slow and careful. You left me hanging. I thought I was protecting you. You weren't. You were protecting yourself. And I'm done doing that, Lila said. I want to be someone who stays. Even when it's messy? Especially then. Zoe exhaled. I didn't mean to fall for you. I didn't mean to need you. So what do we do now? We stop pretending this doesn't matter. They didn't kiss.
Not yet.
But Lila reached for Zoe's hand. And this time, Zoe didn't hesitate. Her fingers closed around Lila's like they were answering a question. That night, Lila told her mother everything. Not the edited version. The whole truth. The panic. The breakdown. The stranger in the cafe. The way Zoe had saved her before she even knew her name. Her mother didn't speak for a long time. Then, softly, she said, I'm proud of you. And that was enough.
For now.
Lila texted Zoe before bed. You once said I make you want to stay. Well, you make me want to become. The reply came fast. Then, let's become together. But outside, the world was still watching. Still whispering. And something was coming, something that would force them to prove if this connection was a sanctuary or a storm. Zoe started pulling away again. Not with anger. Not with words. But with silence. The kind that filled rooms, pressed against the walls, slipped between their fingers like smoke. She still replied to Lila's messages, still showed up when called, still let her fall asleep with a head resting against her shoulder. But something was missing now. The weight. The presence. The heartbeat that had once thudded so clearly between them. Lila felt it. Every time Zoe paused before answering. Every time she smiled with her mouth but not her eyes. Every time she held back, flinching like someone who had touched fire and didn't believe it wouldn't burn again. It started small. I've got a commission to finish. Can we skip tonight? Sorry, I'm exhausted. Maybe tomorrow? I just need space today. Nothing's wrong, I promise. But everything was wrong. Because now that Lila had chosen, now that she had finally stopped lying to herself and to everyone around her, Zoe was fading. Talk to me, Lila said one evening as they sat in the park, legs barely touching on the cold bench. What's happening? Zoe stared ahead. I don't want to get hurt. You think I'm going to hurt you? No, Zoe whispered. I think I already am. Lila turned to her fully. You said you were falling in love with me. You said I make you want to stay. And you make me want too much, Zoe said, voice cracking. You make me want to believe in something again. And that's dangerous for people like me. People like you? People who've been left in the middle of becoming. People who've been the almost, the pause, the breath before someone goes back to what's easy. I didn't go back, Lila said. I chose you. And now I don't know what to do with that. Then let me help you figure it out. But Zoe stood. Not tonight. That was the first night Zoe didn't return her goodnight text. The next day at work, Lila felt the eyes on her again. Whispers. Half sentences. One of her coworkers stopped her in the hallway.
Hey.
Just so you know, some of the board members saw your photos online. With the girl. Lila blinked. What photos? You and her. At the gallery. Holding hands. Lila felt her heart lurch. It's not a problem, the coworker added quickly. But people talk. And in this company, well, people listen. Lila didn't respond.
Couldn't.
That afternoon, her boss called her into the office. We support personal freedom here, he began, with the tone of someone who definitely didn't. But when personal choices become public narratives, especially involving staff from competing organizations, well, we just want to make sure everything's stable. Lila walked home shaking, rage simmering beneath the panic. Not because she was ashamed, but because everything she feared was happening. And Zoe didn't even know. That night, she went to Zoe's studio. No warning. Just walked in. Found her in the middle of a sketch, hands stained with charcoal, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. I'm losing things, Lila said. And I'm still here. Zoe dropped the pencil. What? I'm being talked about.
Judged. Watched.
At work, online, by people I trusted. But I still came. Why are you telling me this? Because I need you to stop treating this like it's going to fall apart. I need you to believe in me the way I believed in you when you disappeared, and I still waited. Zoe stared at her for a long time.
You don't get it, she said.
People don't leave you, Lila.
They talk about you. Me?
They erase me. They stop hiring me. They stop letting me in. You'll survive this. I won't. So, what? You're protecting yourself by leaving first? I'm trying to survive, Zoe snapped. Then let me stand with you, Lila begged. Let me be the one who doesn't leave. Zoe shook her head. I don't know how. Lila closed the distance between them. Then let me show you. But when she tried to kiss her, Zoe stepped back.
Just half a step.
But it was enough to break something. I can't, she whispered. Not like this. Then tell me what to do, Lila said, breath shaking. Tell me how to fix it. I don't want you to fix it, Zoe said. I want you to mean it. Lila froze. I do. Then prove it.
How?
Stop hiding. Stop softening your truth to make other people comfortable. Stop waiting for me to hold it all together while you decide if you're ready to risk it. I am risking it. Then show me. Zoe turned away. Not in anger. In pain. I love you, she said quietly. And that's the scariest thing I've said out loud in years. Lila felt the world tilt. Say it again. But Zoe didn't. She just looked back once, eyes glistening. Let me know when you love me enough to say it without fear. And then she was gone. Again. This time Lila didn't cry. She stared at the sketches Zoe left behind, portraits of her, drawn from memory, some unfinished, some raw, all of them aching. She picked one up. It was her profile, but softer. Not in panic. In peace. The version of her Zoe saw. And then she knew. The next morning, she wrote a letter. Then another. Then she cleared her calendar. Called her sister. Called her boss. Called Marcus. And told every single one of them the truth. No euphemisms. No apologies. She stood in it fully. Not for approval. For freedom. That night, she waited on Zoe's doorstep, holding the sketchbook. No umbrella. Just rain. When Zoe opened the door, Lila didn't say anything. She just held out the sketchbook. You told me to prove it, she said. I did. Zoe looked at her, breath hitching. What did you do? Everything. What do you want? Lila stepped closer. You. But Zoe didn't answer. She just stared, hard in her eyes, lips parted, like she was standing on the edge of something too big to name. And Lila knew. The next choice wouldn't be hers. It had to come from Zoe, from the woman who'd always walked away first. And this time, maybe she wouldn't. Zoe didn't move. Not at first. Rainwater traced her jaw, her hands curled around the doorframe like it was the only thing keeping her from collapsing. Lila stood on the porch, soaked, trembling, holding the sketchbook like a flag of surrender and declaration all at once. "I told the truth," she said again. Softer now. Vulnerable. To everyone. Zoe's breath hitched. "Why?" "Because I couldn't keep asking you to stand in the dark with me while I kept the lights off. Because you saw me long before I ever had the courage to see myself. And because I meant it. Every kiss. Every word. Every time I showed up, scared and small and still reaching for you." Zoe swallowed hard. "What did they say?" "Some walked away. Some cried. Some tried to talk me out of it. And you?" "I stayed." The silence stretched, soaked in tension and something deeper. Something final. "I don't want to be your rebellion, Lila," Zoe whispered. "Or your escape." "You're not. Then what am I?" Lila stepped forward. "You're the one I never expected. The one who saw the worst of me first and didn't run. You're not a phase. You're the reason I came back to myself." Zoe looked away. Her hands were shaking. "I'm scared." "Me too. But I'd rather be terrified with you than safe without you. And if we don't make it, then we'll break each other gently. But I won't let fear be the reason we never tried." Zoe stepped back. A breath. A beat. A lifetime of hesitation in 1 second. Then she opened the door wider.
"Come in," she said. "Please."
Lila did. Shoes soaked. Clothes clinging. Heart bare. Zoe shut the door behind her like she was sealing something sacred. "You're dripping everywhere," Zoe murmured. "You're the one who made me stand in the rain." "Fair." They stood in the middle of the room. Lila's heart pounded. Zoe's eyes were unreadable. "You love me?" Zoe asked suddenly. "Yes." "Say it." "I love you." "Say it like you mean it." "I love you," Lila said, voice breaking. "I love you so much it makes me ache. I love you like I'm not afraid of who I am anymore. Like I finally want to be seen." Zoe stepped forward slowly, like every inch was costing her something. Her hands cupped Lila's face. "You took your time." "I had to," Lila whispered. "Because now I'm here for real." "And you're not going back?" "There's nothing to go back to." Zoe leaned in. Foreheads touching. "Then kiss me like we're not pretending anymore." Lila did. And this time, it wasn't hesitation. It was heat. Honesty. Mouths learning each other again, but with no restraint left. Hands in hair, on waists, pulling close, breaking apart only to breathe, to look, to memorize. They kissed like people who had waited too long to stop. They didn't sleep together that night, but it wasn't because of fear. It was reverence. They lay on the bed, tangled in blankets and confessions, whispering truths in the dark. Lila told Zoe about the panic attacks, about the mornings she couldn't move, about the guilt,
The ache.
the weight of performing a version of herself that never fit. Zoe told her about Emery, about how she'd left when Zoe stopped being soft and started unraveling, about how Zoe learned to survive by never asking anyone to stay. "You scare me," Zoe said softly, tracing Lila's collarbone. "Because I want things now. Things I stopped believing in." "Like what?" "Like waking up next to someone and not pretending it's temporary." "Then don't pretend." Zoe looked at her like she was watching something beautiful fall apart inside herself. "I'm going to love you so hard, it'll ruin me if you leave." "Then I'll never leave," Lila said. "Even when you think you don't deserve me." Zoe kissed her again. Slower now.
Deeper.
But outside the bubble of warmth they'd built, the world hadn't stopped watching. That weekend, an anonymous email circulated at Lila's office. Photos of her and Zoe. Words like inappropriate, unprofessional, conflict of interest. Her boss called her in Monday morning. "I'm going to be direct," he said. "Your personal life is affecting your role. We're not firing you. But if this continues, you may want to consider whether this is still the right place for you." Lila walked out without a word. Called Zoe from the sidewalk. They're trying to erase me. Then we find a place that doesn't. But what if I'm not strong enough for this? Zoe's voice came through like a rope in a storm. You don't have to be strong alone. I'll hold the parts of you that tremble. Just don't push me away again. I won't. That night, they lay in bed again, hands exploring slowly, reverently. Clothes falling like petals. Every inch of skin touched like it meant something sacred. Lila didn't panic. She didn't shake. She let herself be held. Let herself need. Let herself want. They didn't sleep much. But for the first time, Lila didn't need to. In the morning, she opened Zoe's sketchbook. Found dozens of new pages. Drawings of her. Laughing.
Sleeping.
Staring out windows. Always alive. Always more than surviving. You drew me this whole time, Lila said. Zoe looked up. I had to. You were the only thing I couldn't forget. But something still hovered between them. One last breath unspoken. You haven't said it back, Lila whispered. Zoe reached for her. Pulled her close. I love you, she said. So much it terrifies me. But I'd rather live scared with you than numb without you. Lila smiled, tears in her eyes. Then let's stop surviving. Let's become, Zoe replied. And for the first time, there were no questions left. Only the truth. And one final choice still waiting to be made. Lila quit her job. Not out of rage, not in some defiant storm of rebellion, but with clarity.
Peace.
She walked into her boss's office, handed over a letter and said, This space doesn't fit me anymore. I'm not going to shrink to make it work.
And that was it.
No apology. No panic. Just truth. For the first time in months, she walked out of that building feeling like her own weight wasn't dragging her down. Zoe waited for her outside, leaning against the hood of her car, arms folded. You did it, she said softly. I thought I would feel broken, Lila replied. But I don't. I feel light. Zoe stepped forward. You look like someone who just came back to life. I did. They didn't kiss there. Didn't need to. The way Zoe took her hand, like it was muscle memory, said more than any words could. They drove without a destination. Windows down. Music low. Lila's hair in Zoe's face. Fingers intertwined on the gear shift. They stopped at a diner at the edge of a city, ordered pancakes at 3 p.m., and talked about everything and nothing. Zoe's first heartbreak, Lila's obsession with terrible reality shows, the way the world kept asking them to apologize for being loud in their truth. But they weren't sorry anymore. Not for loving each other. Not for wanting more than quiet misery. Not for needing and choosing and staying. The next week, Zoe invited Lila to her first gallery showing in 2 years. She hadn't done one since Emory. Since the collapse. But this time, the walls weren't filled with abstracts or landscapes. They were filled with Lila. Not always literally. Sometimes just the curve of her jaw. The shape of her fear. The light in her eyes the first time Zoe made her laugh. Lila walked the gallery with shaking hands, absorbing every version of herself Zoe had seen and remembered. You turned me into art, she said. No, Zoe replied. You always were. I just finally gave you a mirror. The reviews were glowing. One critic called it a quiet reckoning of vulnerability and resurrection. Another said, the artist paints her subject with devotion rather than detachment. It's not observation. It's worship.
Zoe laughed at that.
They think I'm subtle, she said. You're not. Good. Lila moved in 2 months later. Not because of convenience. Because the absence had become unbearable. They still had panic attacks, both of them. Still had arguments. Still had days where silence was easier than honesty. But now they stayed. They fought and stayed. Cracked open and stayed. Loved hard and stayed. One night, Lila woke up gasping. Not from a nightmare. From a memory. She curled into Zoe without a word. Zoe was already awake, already holding her, like she'd felt the tremor before it arrived. You're okay, she whispered. I've got you. I'm scared, Lila said. That it won't last. That something will break again. It will, Zoe said. Everything breaks. But this time, we put it back together. Promise? On everything. They opened a small studio together, half gallery, half quiet space for art therapy. Lila went back to school.
Slowly.
Zoe taught workshops for kids who didn't know how to say what they felt yet, and Lila sat in the back sometimes, watching her, chest aching with how much love one body could hold. Marcus reached out eventually. He asked for coffee. They met on a Sunday afternoon. He looked better. Lighter.
You look happy, he said.
I hated you for a while. I know. But now, I'm glad you left. Me too, Lila said, surprising herself. You deserved more than someone only halfway present. So did you. They hugged before parting. It didn't sting. It didn't ache. It was simply closure. On the way home, Zoe had left flowers on the counter. Daisies. Wild and bright. A note. Some days you saved me without trying. Today, I wanted to return the favor. Lila laughed.
Cried.
Kissed her until the note crumpled in her hand. They talked about the future. Kids, maybe. A house with too many windows. A dog named after an obscure painter. They didn't plan everything, but they planned enough to know they wanted to be beside each other for all of it. On their 1-year anniversary, Zoe rented out the empty cafe where they'd first met. The lights were low. The tables were gone. The counter still smelled like cinnamon. Do you remember?
Zoe asked.
Every second. You were shaking, Zoe said. You held me anyway. You saved me. We saved each other. Do you regret it? Only that I didn't kiss you that day.